On to the more serious side of things, Charles and Camilla were due to visit France, but they postponed their trip because there's been that bit of political unrest. That said, the French seems to have taken it onto themselves to create some wax figures instead. Will you have a look at these? Just extraordinary. Wax figures always creep me out. But Bronte, pretty sensible to postpone that trip, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. They were watching it all last week and it just kept escalating. And even though, of course, King Charles and Camilla have absolutely nothing to do with what's going on in France, the reality is that the whole thing is about people and their working lives and any financial struggles.
Yep.
And the backdrop of that happening while there's all the grandeur of a state visit is a little bit French revolution-y.
It really is.
Really something. I mean, Charles just would have, I assume he and his advisor just thought, well, we don't need to be part of this and the optics are probably better if we stayed home and so we have nothing to do with this. It's not helpful for him at this point.
No, and I think that's a really good point, isn't it? That ahead of the coronation, Charles doesn't want to look entitled and intransigent and out of touch. And this is something that probably could have gone ahead. I'd say they would have been safe. I don't think there would have been any guillotines out necessarily. But the optics are really important.
The optics are terrible, and as Bronte said, you just those connect with the thought of the French Revolution. Remember, it was Marie Antoinette that sat at Versailles Palace and said, "Let them eat cake." There is some argument that it was "Let them eat brioche," but the fact is they cannot have anything that looks or seems like that. They'll be very disappointed because France and Germany were chosen very, very deliberately. It was to shore up in a post-Brexit world those connections with their immediate neighbours. They were, of course, still going to Germany, but I think it's really wise. You do not want to put a foot wrong in these 6 weeks leading up to what is the most important event of your life.
It's just too close, isn't it? And on the important event, we're slowly getting more and more detail. Apparently, Charles is going to wear the gold silk cape, which the Queen wore to her coronation all those years ago. Can you explain to us the traditionalism that's here?
Well, there's lots. Of course, there's the orb, there's the sceptre, and then this cape was worn by, as you said, his mother, his grandfather before him. There's a sort of part that goes on top of it, and the company that makes these this little kind of roby bit that goes on top has gone out of business because, of course, there's not a lot of calling for that. But it's going to be really interesting to see what I think the modernity of this ceremony with all the music, with the people that will be involved with multicultural Britain, with all these elements that are part of that service and that ceremony that will have to be there because they constitutionally have to be there.
And do you think the Britons have accepted that there's going to be all the pomp and ceremony, even though they're all talking about cost of living pressures and inflation and all those sorts of things?
I think the one key smart thing he's done is reduce the number of people going from 8,000 down to, I think it's just over 1,500, something like that. So you've actually reduced the cost of it by just reducing the numbers. And I think it's going to be street parties. It's going to be 4 days. It's about the community. And I think we'll see the involvement of the community. He needs to take modern Britain and modern Commonwealth with him, and he will do that.
And the other important note, though, about these events is, of course, that they do cost money, but they also inject a huge amount of money into the UK economy with tourism. Always. In fact, I think the Platinum Jubilee brought millions of pounds in, something like £6 billion, sorry.
That's unreal.
Billions, not millions. That's an important clarification. And this time around as well, it's been estimated that it's going to be almost $2 billion will be brought in with the coronation. So it's, it's something that I assume it's that you want to make it look like it's a modern event with the traditionalism, but at the same time, it is something that is going to help out taxpayers or help out Britain on the whole anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.